names have the unmistakable ring of American legend. Ace Drummond, Tailspin Tommy, Spy Smasher, Red Ryder, Gangbusters, Terry and the Pirates, Flash Gordon, the Green Archer, Captain Midnight, the Phantom, the Green Hornet, and Captain Marvel. They were the superstars of the 1930s and 1940s whose movie legacies spanned thousands of Saturday afternoons and filled millions of memories with the most pulse-pounding, nail-biting, action-packed adventures in the history of motion pictures. It was known as the cliffhanger. Action-packed adventures made up of 20-minute episodes of a continuing adventure, usually shown in theaters as a warm-up each week to big-budget feature films. But to a legion of fans, the names of Ralph Bird, Buster Crabbe, Kirk Allen, and Kane Richmond held a great allure. To a true fan, the serial itself was the main attraction, substituting wall-to-wall action for the more sophisticated production and story values of the Technicolor extravaganzas and heralding an enduring legacy of entertainment in the process. The true distinction of the serial was its cliff-hanging chapter endings, which always threw the hero into precarious danger in the episode's final moments until the following week, when an amazing escape would signal the start of a new adventure. The year was 1914. A pretty young actress named Pearl White was sent running down a hill with a giant boulder in hot pursuit in the perils of Pauline. It was the first major serial ever produced, and its astonishing success made White an instant star and announced the birth of the cliffhanger with an appropriate bang. Unbelievably, that is Pearl White actually risking her life to capture this scene on film. Years later, studios refused to allow any of their money-making stars to endanger their health. But these were simpler times. The attraction of the serial with moviegoers proved to be so popular that the tried and true plots were repeated again and again. But despite the tedious storylines, film fans continued to pay 5 cents for a thrill-filled afternoon at the local Nickelodeon. But it wasn't until the 1930s that the movie serial truly came into its own. A combination of factors, the dawn of the sound era in movies, the stock market crash of 1929, and the resulting depression created a clamor for escapist entertainment in America as never before. It was a demand that the serials were uniquely qualified to fulfill, injecting the cliffhanging formula into such popular genres as the Western, superhero, crime drama, and science fiction tableaus. And the serials also took to the jungle. Tarzan ventured onto the cliffhanging vine in 1929 in a 10-episode serial starring Frank Merrill. Frank Merrill also performed his own stunt work. However, more safety measures were now taken. The elephant he is riding was an older domesticated animal acquired from a local circus. Although stock footage from distant jungles was intercut into the adventure, the bulk of the filming was done just miles from Hollywood. In 1929, real estate developers had not yet claimed the vast parcels of land that surrounded Los Angeles. Clyde Beatty, known as the world's greatest animal trainer, starred as himself in The Lost Jungle, a 12-episode adventure released in 1934 that featured a very young Mickey Rooney. Beatty followed it with a second serial, Darkest Africa, 2 years later. And there was the Jungle Girl theme. Taken into the jungle by her scientist father, she grew up among the natives and became the fetching Nyoka. The strong-willed, self-reliant Nyoka part was an interesting departure for an actress, as women generally cowered in corners while male actors handled the rough and tumble fight sequences in films. The Lost City of the Jungle was another cliffhanger set against jungle backgrounds.
Congo Bill, as if you didn't know.
Andre Bokar, at your service.
Mr. Bokar, what's your business beside attempted murder?
Congo Bill set into motion a demand for pith helmets by young fans who sought to emulate their serial heroes.
Fool. One misstep, and our troubles with Congo Bill will be all over.
Buster Crabbe also ventured into the Dark Continent in The King of the Congo. One of the most exciting jungle motif serials was Tim Tyler's Luck, released in 1937. The film starred Frankie Thomas as the adventurous Tim, tracking down the armor-plated jungle cruiser of the wicked spider Webb. The ominous jungle cruiser was actually fashioned from sheet metal, which was painted gray by studio craftsmen. One of this film's subplots, Tim Tyler befriends several jungle animals who help him search for the evil men who murdered his father. Inspired by Tim Tyler's Luck, other comic strip newspaper heroes quickly found themselves under Hollywood scrutiny. With their compact storylines, vivid visuals, and constant action, not to mention cliff-hanging endings, the comic strips were tailor-made for the action-adventure format. And the serials brought it all to life in 12 and 15-episode adventures. Terry and the Pirates had a readership of 15 million, and the serial version starring William Tracy as Terry Lee activated Milton Caniff's comic strip characters, taking them and their audience on an expedition to a lost civilization. Tailspin Tommy, on the other hand, took the comic hero to the air in 2 serials in the mid-1930s. Tailspin Tommy was the nickname given Tommy Tompkins, an expert mechanic who helps a fledgling company secure a contract to fly airmail. Serial plot unfolds. Tommy, played by Maurice Murphy, in true serial hero fashion, brings all evildoers to justice, wins his sweetheart over, and is offered a contract to become a film star.
Don't do that, Betty, please! Don't do that! To the field, everybody! You want to wait for you? I'll stop it, Betty, please.
Apparently, the young aviator declined the film offer, as he soon returned in a second serial, Tailspin Tommy and the Great Air Mystery. Ace Drummond, inspired by the popular air ace Eddie Rickenbacker, starred John King as one of aviation's leading pioneers.
What's happened?
We've been hit. They've gone away my rudder control. We're going to crank. What was that? It's gone.
When not risking his life in the air, Ace encountered formidable problems on land as well. Here he dispatches 5 opponents, saves his girl, and makes a daring getaway. Other comic strip translations to the screen were just as memorable and eccentric. Mandrake the Magician featured Warren Hull fighting a masked madman named the Wasp in a 15-chapter cliffhanger.
What's that?
Now you can get him, Lothar.
Me catch him. Let go! Let go, you prick!
All right, Lothar, that's enough.
Radio Patrol had Grant Withers trying to solve a bizarre murder and uncover the secret to flexible steel. The hero of Radio Patrol encountered situations well beyond that of the average metropolitan police officer, which of course, for the purposes of a serialized adventure, was a must. Here, Grant Withers as patrolman CATO confronts members of an international gang of crooks who have stolen a secret formula for manufacturing bulletproof steel. And Secret Agent X9 starred Scott Kolk in an espionage-oriented adventure. The Dashing Spy was the creation of comic strip visionary Alex Raymond, who made Flash Gordon and his nemesis, Ming the Merciless, the most popular sensation in newspaper strip history. Flash Gordon also became the most expensive cliffhanger produced in the 1930s, costing $350,000, or more than 3 times the cost of an average serial. The results on screen and at the box office made everything worthwhile. Featuring Olympic medalist Buster Crabbe as Flash and showcasing some of the most awe-inspiring special effects of the era, the serial became one of the most successful cliffhangers ever and prompted 2 sequels. To audiences of the 1930s, these surrealistic special effects proved to be quite a sensation.
Broken
The rocket ships, with their trail of smoke and sparks, evolved into a popular child's toy in the 1930s. The footage of these aircraft in flight became a staple stock shot, utilized again and again in science fiction features through the late 1940s.
There are 2 ships approaching. I hope Baron is one of them.
Position noted and approved. Use your destructo ray.
We're heading in at once.
Open on them.
Buster Crabbe continued his futuristic legacy as Buck Rogers, the comic strip hero of the 25th century. With the advent of World War II, the comic strips and the serials began to orient their adventures in a more realistic and contemporary light. Spy Smasher, released in 1942, starred Kane Richmond as the American freelance agent in occupied France. Additional serials targeted fifth columnists, enemy agents, saboteurs, and the various dark forces which conspired against Uncle Sam. Junior G-Men of the Air was typical of those serials which stirred patriotic emotions.
It is so powerful that just a few drops will affect hundreds of gallons of gasoline. And when our work is done, American planes will fall from the skies, helpless, destroyed.
The young cast of Junior G-Men of the Air was very familiar to moviegoers. Cast members Billy Hallett, Hunts Hall, Gabriel Dell, and Bernard Punsley were collectively known as the Dead End Kids.
The muffler, it works.
Hey, Eddie, what are you going to do with it? Give it to the government.
Are you kidding? Give it to him. You mean for nothing?
Why, certainly. It's our government, isn't it? See where you are.
In later years, the group would evolve into the East Side Kids and the Bowery Boys. Another force fighting anti-American agents was the Black Commando, hero of the Secret Code. An added attraction of the serial was a weekly segment in which viewers were taught how to decode secret messages. In The Master Key, Nazi spies were the hero's targeted bad guys.
I'm sorry, Miss Lowe, but you aren't going to write another column ever.
And 5 years after he appeared as Spy Smasher, Kane Richmond starred in Brick Bradford, a serial which mixed the science fiction and Western formulas together. It is the Western which many regard as the quintessential serial genre. The stark sagebrush locations, the dusty Wild West towns, and the head-to-head shootouts between hero and villain all combined to create a classic arena for drama, suspense, and action, and did it all on a budget. There was The Red Rider, starring Buck Jones, who rode his famous horse Silver to the rescue of a framed friend played by Grant Withers. This particular stunt was repeated in countless Western films. Originally, the runaway stagecoach stop was created by master stuntman Yakima Canutt. "50 years later, a liberal adaptation of this gag, as stuntmen call such stunts, was used in the first Indiana Jones film. Another Red Rider came along a few years later with Don Red Berry in the title role.
watch him for me while I go fix his papers.
You'd better talk.
You can't bluff me, cowboy.
I'm not bluffing.
One of the most unique Western serials ever made was The Phantom Empire, which made Gene Autry a star and featured the cowboy hero mixing traditional Western elements with science fiction.
As all you folks should know, Uncle Noah built himself an ark. For 40 days and nights, the rain was sure a fright, and the animals nearly tore his ark apart.
Movie audiences were offered a flip side to Autry's squeaky clean sing-along persona with the introduction of the mysterious and charismatic Zorro.
Zorro. Can't you get rid of that man?
Zorro Rides Again starred John Carroll as James Vega, great-grandson of the original Don Diego Vega. And Zorro's Fighting Legion 2 years later saw the dynamic Zorro stop an Indian uprising in the early days of Spanish California. The serial starred Reed Hadley, who played both Zorro and the dandyish Diego Vega.
Don't worry, Tarmac. Martinez here warned us, and we set a trap for the gold train at the pass.
Ace of stuntmen, Yakima Canutt, was the stunt double in Zorro's Fighting Legion as well as the previous Zorro serial. The balance of the riders in this scene were recruited from the Republic Studios stable of stuntmen. Canutt had trained most of the men in this sequence. Sometimes he would often chase himself by changing costume and appearing in the shots of the riders in pursuit of Zorro. Zorro's Black Whip followed in 1944. Although the story mentioned Zorro in the title only, the serial featured a rare Western heroine, Linda Sterling as Barbara Meredith, known to one and all as the Whip.
Black Whip might even track down the bandits and recover the money.
That's a big order, Dick.
Anything the Black Whip undertakes is a big order.
That's true. I'll do everything I can to help, and I'll let you know what happens.
The Black Whip.
Son of Zorro followed in 1947, featuring George Turner in a 13-episode adventure. And Clayton Moore concluded the Zorro series as the Ghost of Zorro in 1949. Moore would go on to create the definitive Lone Ranger portrayal on the famous television show of the 1950s. It was the serials that first brought the masked man to life. The Lone Ranger in 1938 starred Lee Powell in a shoot-'em-up adventure set during the post-Civil War Reconstruction. Tonto was played by the venerable Chief Thundercloud. And in The Lone Ranger Rides Again, the next year, Robert Livingston helped the Valley of Settlers battle a powerful cattleman in a 15-episode thrill fest. Prior to his serial incarnation, the Lone Ranger had earned a reputation as one of the most popular heroes of 1930s radio. And the transition of action storytelling from the national airwaves to neighborhood movie theaters made radio one of the most important proving grounds for cliffhanging heroes.
Calling the police, calling the G-men, calling all Americans to war on the underworld. Universal presents Gangbusters.
Gangbusters, one of the most legendary of all radio shows, took the movie adventure route with a 13-chapter serial. Unlike the radio program, which focused on a different criminal every week, the big screen version expanded the program's scope to conform to the requirements of the Saturday afternoon serial. Kent Taylor, as Detective Bill Bannister, is assigned to investigate the activities of two gangs of terrorists, led by a mysterious professor.
Fellow citizens, you are listening to the voice of death. I believe you are alarmed at the spread of a reign of terror in your city. I and the League of Murdered Men return from our graves to take revenge on those who sent us there.
CATO was arguably the most famous radio personality of the 1930s, and his serial debut in 1940 featured Victor Jory in the title role. America's radio heroes became instant superstars in the multi-episodic cliffhangers, inspiring a cinematic following that far surpassed their respective radio legacies. Captain Midnight, starring Dave O'Brien, etched one of the strongest multi-episodic portrayals of the era. Radio and comic strip favorite The Phantom came to the screen in a 15-chapter serial. Tom Tyler was called on once again to portray a serial hero. The Phantom character established his headquarters deep in the jungle, vowing to devote his life to protecting the good jungle folk from evildoers. And the Green Hornet, a staple of radio for several years, became a serial superstar over a quarter century before his appearance on primetime television in 1967. Gordon Jones starred as the crusading publisher Britt Reed, and character actor Key Luke was Cato in the 13-episode thriller.
So it was you tricked me out here. Well, what do you want?
What's wrong with plane 2824? Answer me, what's wrong with plane 2824?
There's nothing wrong with it.
You're lying, Bartlett. You know there's something wrong with it. What is it?
If you'll untie me and let me bail out with you, I'll tell you what you want to know.
All right.
Although the Green Hornet brought evildoers to justice, he was still regarded with suspicion by the authorities. Hence, he fought injustice without the cooperation of the police.
No use when you haven't a chance. Now tell me, who's the head of this?
Audiences just couldn't get enough of the wildly overscaled action that accounted for much of the serial's wholesale popularity. One of the most exciting components of nearly every serial was the crash. Over the years, audiences gripped the arms of their theater chairs as they were treated to a wide variety of crashes. In planes, and in almost any place a scriptwriter could think of. Undercranking, or slowing the film's movement through the camera so that when projected at normal speed, the action appeared faster than usual, was an essential ingredient of cliffhanger production and resulted in some of the most furious action sequences ever. While the gunfights, chases, and explosions of a given serial were sometimes indistinguishable, the distinctive styles of various heroes were always totally unique. The Green Archer, a 15-episode adventure released in 1940, featured the mysterious title hero dressed in the manner of Robin Hood and brandishing a bow and arrow.
What is it?
There, the Green Archer.
Nothing there. Look for yourself.
Captain Marvel, in 1941, starred Tom Tyler, defending a scientific expedition seeking knowledge of the ancient Scorpion dynasty. Captain Marvel was one of the finest serials to emerge from Republic Studios. In the annals of box office successes, this serial was second only to Flash Gordon.
With the power of these lenses, I can turn the inside of this mountain into hot, molten rock. No one, not even Captain Marvel, can survive that.
In 1944, Captain America battled the evil Scarab, who used a poison known as the Purple Death to eliminate his enemies. But Captain America triumphed and became one of the most popular superheroes in serial history.
A withered mummy.
The Commissioner's been alibying his failure to turn up anything in these Purple Death murders.
You remember the Commissioner and I have cleaned up crime waves in this town before.
Yes, that mysterious Captain America did most of your work for you.
I feel certain that this new crime wave will bring him out of hiding to help us.
Dick Purcell, as Captain America, seemed a likely competitor to serial stars Buster Crabbe, Tom Tyler, and Kirk Allen.
Where's Gail Richards?
Well, you'll never find her.
Studios had instigated plans to star Purcell in a series of films in the comic book character vein. But unfortunately, Purcell died before the final episode of Captain America unraveled in theaters. And the legacies of such timeless entertainment superstars as Superman, Batman, and Dick Tracy were also fueled by the cliffhanger tradition. Dick Tracy, one of the most popular comic strip characters ever created, first exploded onto movie screens in a 15-episode adventure in 1937. Starring Ralph Byrd as Tracy, the serial challenged the H.G. with a supremely powerful adversary, a villain known only as the Spider.
So they're taking Coulter home at 3 o'clock.
They're calling for him at 3 o'clock, but they'll never take him home. Coulter carries the mark of the Spider, and no man has ever borne that mark and lived.
Well, that is very true, but...
There must be no exception.
Gordon is right, Moloch. It will serve as a warning to Dick Tracy that the Spider never sleeps.
And in Dick Tracy Returns, 1 year later, Tracy battled a West Coast crime family led by Pa Stark, played by Charles Middleton. Dick Tracy's G-Men and Dick Tracy vs. Crime Incorporated followed, enriching the serial legacy of the square-jawed hero and making Ralph Byrd one of the most popular stars of the 1930s and 40s. Batman, Bob Kane's legendary comic book creation, first came to the screen in serial form in a 15-episode adventure in 1943. Starring Lewis Wilson as Batman and Douglas Croft as the Boy Wonder, the cliffhanger sent the dynamic duo up against Daka, the evil leader of an enemy undercover ring who turns people into zombies. A second serial, Batman and Robin, came 6 years later and starred Robert Lowry and John Duncan in the title roles. But it wasn't until 1948 that Superman made his film debut as a serial hero. Starring Kirk Alyn as the Man of Steel, the serial chronicled Superman's battle against the evil Spider League.
Now give me your information.
I know how to make Superman helpless.
I'm waiting.
The week-to-week involvement in each exciting chapter of the numerous serials kept the public's mind fixated on the salvation of their heroes, rather than the very real problems of the day. The serial hero's weekly escape and ultimate triumph led credence to the good is more powerful than evil equation, standardizing a gallery of cliff-hanging superstars with the heroic stature that they so richly deserve. And as a new age of television debuted, which hastened the end of the motion picture serial, an entirely new arena opened its arms to embrace the former heroes of the silver screen. Early 1950s television brought a plethora of familiar Saturday matinee favorites into living rooms across America. Although TV dinners replaced boxes of popcorn, the on-screen action still held audiences spellbound. Superman starred George Reeves as the Man of Steel. Ralph Byrd returned as Dick Tracy.
Okay, cigars, you're through.
Clayton Moore returned as the Lone Ranger.
The Lone Ranger. A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo silver. The Lone Ranger.
Into the 1960s, the airwaves continued to present a parade of defenders of justice. The phenomenally popular Batman series was the rage of the mid-60s. Spinning off of Batman came the Green Hornet, with Van Williams in the title role and co-starring Bruce Lee as CATO. Bruce Lee would emerge years later as an international superstar of karate genre movies. The heroes of the television screen, like their big screen counterparts, stand for and enforce the same ideals, possess the same values, and battle the same evil forces, and there is no end to their popularity in sight. Though the original serials and the great superheroes are gone, their influence on movie and American history can still be felt. Via the half-century's output of motion picture footage left behind, the legacy of these fascinating serial heroes lives on.
Kill them! Kill them!